Welcome back to the channel. My name is Crawford. This is Virginia's for Lowriders. That's James. We're out here again, way too late in the weekend. It's like I got like a whole day and a half. But I have been out here. I did get some stuff done this week. Went and took the Bronco wheels and got the tires mounted on them after I attempted to mount them at work and it didn't work out. I had a friend of mine do them. And old James over there convinced me to buy Mucho Macho tires, which I'm completely fine with because, like I've said like 100 times,
Way better than Ling Longs.
they're better than Ling Longs,
Mucho Macho.
and the wheels are temporary. I'm still on the search for, I would say, like the perfect baby billet wheel. I've came across a couple, but this weekend we're doing what we normally do. A.D.D really grabbed a hold of me this week, and I've been bouncing around like crazy. I'm gonna add the footage of what I have and what I've done this week. I came home and tried to take paint off of one of the wheels, and I spent like hours doing that. I took paint off the cab, and I did all this stuff. A lot of running around. I called Legacy. Legacy said it's like a 3 or 4 week wait, I think is what the guy told me. So I'm not too sure if the truck is actually going to make it to Mini Nats. There's a pretty strong chance that James and I are going to hop in his car and just drive down and hang out with y'all because I don't want to mess with the paint until the top is done, and the top can't be done until the top is here, so I know how big to cut the hole and how to make everything mounted and blah 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 blah. But we're still working towards that goal of getting it there. It's not looking too promising right now.
And we're going to lose the shop.
We might lose the shop. The government's going to come in and they're going to just remove my garage from its foundation. But just like every weekend, if you've never been here before, there are almost 30 videos of me working on this truck. Everything. Engine modifications, full stainless steel exhaust, 3-link from scratch, body drop, air management, paint, body work, everything's happening if it hasn't happened yet. And we're adding to that this weekend. We're going to start by removing the windshield. Last week I left off with I was going to bring my tools home to remove the windshield, and I didn't. So I went to Harbor Freight last night and bought a cheap $15 windshield remover, and it might come out in one piece, it might come out in thousands of little tiny pieces, who knows. So we're going to start with that. I've been screaming at James for the last hour while I was picking up the garage, not clean. Picking up the garage, I've been yelling out things that I remember that I need to do to the truck because my A.D.D gets me so incredibly straight away that I'll do something in here and I don't 100% finish it and I have to go back and button it up. For instance, I have to go back and button up the clutch spring stuff and all of the sensors that I broke, and I have to go back and finish the wiring that haven't touched in the front for months. I don't know, feels like. Brake lines. I started the brake lines a couple weeks ago, but yeah, we're just getting straight away like we do. There's a very long list, and we haven't even transferred anything from the old list over to the new list, so we're gonna stop rambling and get to work. I don't know what we're doing in what order, but we're gonna get something done. That's the plan. That's the end goal. So yeah, subscribe, check out the old videos. There are tons of them, and say something nice to James in the comments because he needs he needs something nice said to him. But yeah, we're just gonna stop talking. All right, first thing on the list is removing the windshield. I'm gonna attempt to remove it without breaking it. I have much nicer. I think it's like I think they're called excavator or Excalibur or something like that. Windshield tools at work. It's basically like a big spatula that you attach to an air hammer, and I could run around this entire windshield. I know I'm not a windshield guy. I do everything on equipment, so it's a little different. They're really glued in, and there's on a car, there's this much material being glued on equipment. There will be a panel about this big that the windshield goes over, so I need that thing to get in there. So this is what we got. I never really mess with these. I know this is pretty standard stuff, but I'm gonna run this around the outside of the window and attempt to not cut fingers off and make a mess.
I'm gonna kick the windshield out.
James is gonna kick the windshield out of the truck.
This looks complicated.
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Oh, I see. You pull with the cord.
I don't know if I can do it with the camera right there.
To knock the camera over. Would you like me to move the camera back over?
I don't know how old that glue is, but it feels like it's been in there for a long time.
Shake it a little bit.
That's it. I don't know what that noise was.
Remember when we clutch a windshield with Sawzall?
Oh yeah, Sawzall glides through a window. If you don't care about the window, Sawzall is the way to go. All the windshield guys that watch the video are cringing right now.
Oh yeah, they're like, look at these dummies. That sounds terrible. Ooh. I like it.
The other thing I have is so much easier.
You get your workout in today, bud.
That stuff's tough. There's a reason that I'm not a windshield guy.
What they're not telling you is actually like roofing quality.
It doesn't feel like the normal urethane stuff that I'm used to. It's definitely tough. There's like 10 layers of paint and like a bunch of old glue that's just balling up on this. I've never seen the glue act like that.
I've never pulled a windshield out in a caring way, like caring about glass.
I've taken a lot of windows out of work, but like I said, it's nothing like this.
I've always just done it with you with the Sawzall on hand.
The attachment I have is basically like a big spatula, and you just
just-
run it along the inside, and it cuts the glue. Run it with the air hammer. I know windshield dudes probably have like extremely sharp and nicer versions of this.
That's Hobo Freight.
You can't expect much for $15. The bad part is, I could have got like a nicer brand off Amazon delivered to my house.
But it wouldn't be here too.
It would have been here today, because I thought I was going to do this last night, and then I went inside and passed out on the couch. I'm old man naps after work though. Here,
That's why you got to get you a job that you sleep.
it's even just a job. Like, I got a job.
Your job where you sleep at. Haven't found one of those yet.
Yeah, that would be sweet. There's so many layers.
Like I'm tired just from watching you.
I'm ready to. I'm about to get an old man nap in right after this.
Lay down. But then you hit like spots like that where it's just glides.
What's weird is, it's like
Oh,
you can see the windshield, but the glue's supposed to stop there, but there's this much glue on top of the windshield as you're trying to pull this thing through that. See, all right, that should be how it is.
all the way around.
Yep.
I wondered if it leaked up there and they just kept gobbing
It.
stuff.
I think that's what it is. You can see the layers.
Because remember my Mazda with the 15s? It would leak when it would rain up to the top.
Oh, there's glass there. Don't do that.
Are you kidding me?
All the way to the end. One crack.
Oh, another one. How though?
I don't know. It's so thick down there.
It is. It's like over half inch thick.
How do we have 3 different types of glue in here where it's like different levels of difficulty?
You know what's crappy is you're gonna have to get all that stuff out.
Yeah, that's easy now.
Yo, look how thick. Look at like.
Yeah, that is unnecessary.
Say one thing, it would never leak. Like some clothes off.
There you go. So that little razor knife is trying to cut through this really hard. I don't know. Like I said last week, gobstopper thickness of layers of paint.
This is like black licorice.
Taste it.
Not as tasty.
I'm gonna walk that way.
Behind. Let me. Can you hold it for a second?
Yeah.
It's not like it matters if it breaks.
Just go all the way around. We'll go outside. I'd say it's had a few windows put in it. Either that or one window, and somebody had it out a lot of times.
Just for fun.
This is terrible. Like, I've had a lot of windshields replaced in a lot of vehicles, and I've stood there and hung out with the dudes while they did it. It's never this thick. This is ridiculous. And you can see there's like layers and layers of old glue and paint. It's weird. But I'll get this all cleaned and prepped this week.
A lot of work just to take the dash out.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll get it all cleaned and prepped this week and down to bare metal like the rest of the cab. There's seriously like 8 layers of paint on this cab. It's terrible. On to the next thing. All right, James had to leave, and it's been like, I don't know, like 3 hours or something. I went inside, and the couch sucked me in, and then I came out here, and yeah, transferred some of the chicken scratch stuff to the new list. So we just need to chip away at the list. James really wants me to finish the body mounts, which I haven't finished because, again, the A.D.D stuff just, I don't know. Let's go with mount the relay box on the driver's side kick panel. So whenever I did, got that quick release fender here. Whenever I did all of this, relocated all of that, and did the wheel tubs, because the wheel tubs are significantly larger than they were from the factory, I never remounted this thing because it was mounted somewhere in here, and all of this has been replaced. So I need to come up with something up in there, take care of that real quick. And then that harness connects to that harness. So once that's in there, I can try to route that and clamp it somewhere in the carpet, or where it's going to be flush and not sticking up and making a bump in the carpet. I'm just going to put it up in there and find an exact location of where it needs to be. I'm going to mark our lines, or mark our holes precisely with the finest marking tools we have. This is one of the harnesses that I completely de-loomed and re-loomed. Now it's caked with body dust, but this can actually be routed now that that thing is mounted up in there. Probably should have plugged this in beforehand so I could actually get to it, but gotta figure out a way to run it to where the carpet isn't going to be raised and look kind of weird. Yeah, definitely not the brightest person. Probably should have plugged this in beforehand. So one of the things on the list is to wire up the air compressors. The other couple things on the list are to fully mount the taillight harness and to run the compressor harness to the rear and mount it. So A.D.D is kind of jumping around here. So one of the things, of course, is to wire the compressors. Last time I built this or put this portion of the truck together, like I said, everything that you see me put a self-tapper in the frame is coming back out, getting drilled and tapped, most likely to a 1/4 20, which is what this is here. All I'm doing is chasing the thread with a tap to where it is clean enough to use as a ground. Put a little fancy looking bolt and a washer on here. Do this to both sides, get that out of the way, even though I didn't actually write that down. But what we're going to do is we're going to write it down. Now we're going to cross it out. Even though it wasn't on the list before, it'll be on the list, it'll be crossed out. That way it makes it feel like we got something extra special done. I need to, in my compressor harness, I have the pressure switch already loomed up. So I need to run a ground from this pressure switch to the frame rail also and tap that and put a bolt in that. We're going to write that on the list and cross that out too. That way tomorrow we have all kinds of stuff crossed out on that list. Here we go again, just straying away from what I was going to do into something that needs to be done, but it's not on the list. Just getting distracted here. Hopefully I'm not having microphone issues anymore. I was having microphone issues last night. But last night we left off with, I made some grounds for the air compressors, made a ground for this guy, that'll all get cleaned up. Now I need to chip away at the list. I need to wire the air compressors in the rear. This is the harness that used to be in there. Need to mount the taillight harness to the bottom of the frame somehow to where they're not flopping around. Need to actually run this alongside the taillight harness and get it all clamped in place and looking good. Before, that harness ran all the way to the front when the battery was up behind the headlight. So now it's going to get mounted in this area where all of my main power is going to be. So I need to wire that up, shorten it, and do all of the things to make it look good. So we're going to do that first. And then, I think we'll have to do this. I'll show you all how the Bronco wheels turned out. The Bronco wheels now have, so I'm running a 225/40 18 on the Titans. I bought a 215/40 18 for the Broncos because it's a 1/2 inch narrower wheel. So I'm losing like not quite 1/2 inch of height, which I'm not excited about because I really didn't want to lose any tire, but I need something a little narrower, so I'll show you all those. They look okay. They're not painted yet. I was going to get y'all's opinion on that and let y'all decide again. Do a little voting in the comment section. I'll show you. I have an idea. I'll put it up on the screen of exactly what I'm thinking, and we'll put that to vote. And maybe by next weekend I'll have those painted up. So let's knock out the taillight, air compressor, harness stuff here real quick, and then continue to chip away at that. I just spent 45 minutes looking for the solder, so I can solder this one wire together. It finally happened after, I don't know, like 10 years of my old air compressor just leaking and fixing it and leaking and fixing it, and it's been on its last leg for a very long time. It finally locked up. Came outside because I was getting low on air pressure. I could see smoke coming from the back of the garage, and it spewed all of the oil out of it, and it fried the belt. So that's cool. I'm gonna have to fix that this week before I can really do anything that requires air. I got a little tiny air compressor for backup, but it can't really keep up with air tools like grinders and stuff. So, well, I did get this done. The taillight harness is nice and clean and mounted and ready to go. The compressors are completely wired up. You don't really see much of anything. I'm not super excited about having all the wiring on this side, but it's just that little single run. I had planned on splitting it, but the way it's going to be routed in the cab, I don't think it's going to work out. So that's off the list. I need to take that brass plug out that used to be a gauge for the tank. Need to cap that thing on the gas tank. I'm going to make up a fuel line for the carb real quick. I need to find a little tie down things for that. We're just continuing to chip away. We'll chip away as much as we can today, and then it's time to replace the compressor. Hopefully the one that I bought a used one from one of the branches of my work closed down. I don't know what this was, like, let's just say 6 years ago or so. I bought their compressor. It's been sitting in my backyard covered up the entire time, so hopefully it's still good because it's a really nice compressor. It should build air and keep air significantly better than that thing that I've had for close to 20 years. So, all right, actually, I'm gonna make the ground cable for that, and then we'll A.D.D our way around some stuff real quick. Before I forget to show y'all again, get distracted by something else. Bronco wheels with tires. It actually looks way better with a tire on it. It's weird how that changes something so much. I'm gonna get this thrown up on there just so we can satisfy some curiosity and see what it actually looks like. And I was texting James. I think I jinxed it. Or I think James and I both jinxed it. Talking about how long that air compressor has lasted. And then talking about possibly getting hung up on something and not making the to mini nats because something was going to happen. So the top is delayed, basically another 2 or 3 weeks, so that puts the bodywork behind, and then I'm going to waste a bunch of time installing the air compressor, and I'm going to have to change my little shed thing because the other air compressor is really wide, and I really doubt that's going to fit in there, so I'll probably have to go to the store and make another one of those, and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to put a wheel on because get distracted and take away the bad news, which I knew the compressor was going out, but I don't know. I was hoping it would go out at least after I painted this thing, not mid body work. So let's throw this on there real quick. Hopefully it looks halfway cool. Oh man, that sucks. Hopefully there's enough air to pick this jack back up. I've been using this jack for everything. Guess I had it in there a little crooked. I'd say I definitely got a lot more room. I can put some camber back into it, or take the camber back out of it, because there is 1/2 inch of shims to get the Titan wheels to fit in there. It doesn't look bad. It's not terrible. Different. So I'm going to explain my idea, and I want y'all to vote it down the bottom, or comment it, or whatever you want to call it. If you've looked at, I know Honda does it a lot. That's what I recognized it on, just looking through pictures online, and I'll put a picture of this wheel and a wheel next to it from a Honda. So Honda will do, they'll leave the polished face just like this, but they'll paint the inlay, instead of painting it black, they'll paint just that silver. I'm thinking that that might actually look kind of cool on here. Maybe even paint match it to the body, because I do have, since I'm not doing the door jambs in single stage, which what I bought to do that quicker and not have to polish and all that stuff, I'm going to do the entire cab in one pass. I do have some single stage in this same color that I don't really have a use for, except for underneath the hood and maybe the back of the doors. So that's an option. I'll put them both on the screen. Tell me what y'all think versus painting just the inlay portion, the gray, silver, whatever, or painting the entire wheel gray or silver. I'm kind of leaning towards leaving the polished face. It's going to be a lot more work because of the ridiculous amount of taping that I'll have to do, but it's kind of looking like the truck might not be coming out of the garage as soon as I thought it would be, and I'll be in here working on stuff anyway. So let me know. Let's move on to the battery cable that I told you I was going to do before I said I was going to do this. So it's about, it's like 0.39 inches of a difference or something like that, according to the calculator online. And width and height is supposed to be the same, but they're almost the same height. That Bronco wheel just on the truck looks significantly smaller. I guess it's the silver of these. kind of throws it off. That's why I'm thinking silver, at least on the inlay portion of the Broncos, is going to look better. But I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. I don't hate it. It's different. I definitely want to do silver. I just got to figure out which way I want to do the silver. We are going after the simplest of simple things to get done. Like, whatever we take off the list, it makes you feel better because it's off the list and it's out of the way and you don't have to worry about it. So we're going with like super, super simple things that need to be done. Vacuum caps, simple. This is how simple we're talking here. Just a vacuum cap on the gas tank because this portion is unused. I'm gonna put a little clamp on there. We need to make the vent that I've talked about like 6 times for the rear end. We're gonna make a fuel line real quick. I'm gonna come over here to this spaghetti of a mess. Find a fuel line that fits the carb. I can't remember if it's 5/16 or 1/4 inch. So we'll do one of these. See if this fits the carb. Oh, that's pretty big on there. So maybe it's 3/8 fuel line. Let's try this. Probably the 5/16. It is. So this has a fuel line because this is a Weber aftermarket carb. The fuel line comes along and loops back to the fuel pump on the side of the head. I would like to, since I made these hard lines, and it's going to kind of run straight into it. I'm thinking a rubber isolated clamp, since I put them on everything, will keep the fuel line above this. If I go to there and then to the thing, I might even be able to put 2 and make it look really fancy. A little spring clamp collection here. Throw one of those on there. I obviously need to tighten that down too. We'll put that on the list. Tighten the gas tank. It's on the list. Fuel line's in. I actually don't have a hose clamp that fits over this very well, so I might have to order something, or, I mean, that's how it is from the factory. It's not really a big deal. It don't look too terrible. So I found some of this smaller line to make the vent. So I added this vent since I welded over top of the vent from the factory. I added this vent into the tube. So I need to attach this and then attach the top of it somewhere up here and give it enough droop to where it can move around with the rear end. I'm going to do that real quick, and then we're going to get to that, since I've said like 10 times now that I need to do that ground. So just went above the rail, put a little 90-degree elbow on it to where nothing can travel through there. Pretty straightforward stuff. Alright, I got distracted away from the list, but it was for good reason. Put all the tires on. I have about 30 psi left in the compressor. I figured if I don't get the air compressor figured out sooner than later, this gives me a chance, because there's got to be a tiny leak in my air system. I guarantee it's not 100% sealed up. This is probably the only chance I'll get to put the truck on the ground with ease with my little airbag jack thing rather than my normal floor jack. So I took the time, put all the wheels on, that way we can get a really good look, and it looks good on the ground with the Bronco wheels. They still look small, which doesn't make sense because it's the same size wheels I took off of it and almost the same size tire. Oh, yeah, I can actually hear a tiny leak right there. But sitting on the ground again, it's more of that instant satisfaction, gratification. So this side has about a 1/2 inch of shims. This side has no shims. There is very little camber. The fender makes it way exaggerated. The wheel looks so small though, it's kind of weird. But it doesn't look too bad. It's been a while since it's been on the ground. So now this week I can come in here and try to start messing with this. I'm putting the top on it, of course, but I need to get the rest of this paint off. I need to take all of this stuff off, get all of this cleaned and prepped, and I'd like to paint from here up. That way all of this is protected again and there's no random 10 layers of paint in there. So that's the plan. Try to get the rest of the paint completely stripped, pull the headliner out this week. If the headliner's out, I can start hopefully mapping some stuff out here. You can see this stuff is just, it's caked in there. It's terrible. This stuff is so wavy. The camera doesn't really pick it up, but all the grinding marks, and there's that wonderful hole I pointed out last time. It's pretty terrible. So I think that wraps it up. It is late. I have to still finish editing this stuff. I noticed something with the Bronco wheels before I go completely. Put this in between some other part of the video. With the Bronco wheels, I can steer while floating. Of course, this side still has some shims in it, but even without the shims there's still some movement. Pretty exciting, because I pretty much drive everything, every adjustable suspension I've ever had, I drive it as close to the ground as possible. So I'll get back to the rambling I was doing and processing and uploading. So I'll see y'all next Sunday. Hopefully we got air again. We can continue to do what we were doing. Not sure if that's going to work out, but if I don't have air, there's still a lot on that list that doesn't require it. So we'll be chipping away. A lot of random little wiring to button up here. A lot of grinding, and I can't do any sanding, but I can use my stripping tool and get as far along as possible on this. I just got tired of standing on the ladder, and I wanted to see this. It looks pretty good. Always looks good on the ground. Makes the truck look so much smaller. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you've never been here before. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention was I did buy the windshield, and I picked it up Saturday morning at like 8 o'clock. So that's the reason I pulled the windshield out. I forgot to mention that. I do have the windshield ready to go back in once all of the other 100 steps are completed. So yeah, see y'all next Sunday.